Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. I hope you're all doing well. Today, we'll discuss this case about a major criminal investigation in Tennessee that stretches back to the early morning hours of April 13, 2011. The state of Tennessee is speaking on behalf of every law-abiding citizen and each law enforcement officer involved in this case. That includes everyone who contributed, from the first moments of that morning through the years of investigation that followed. Their work has been meticulous and continuous, covering every step of this complex case. But with so many people and so much time involved, how did investigators piece together the key moments that mattered most?
We do not care where Zach Adams was at 11:12 in the morning on April 13th, 2011. The state of Tennessee could not care less where he was at that time on that day. Out of their own witnesses' mouths, Agent Terry Dicus, the operative, the key, the essential time period in this case, in this investigation, 9:39 in the morning. He elaborated a little more and said from 8 to 10:30 in the morning. That was the key time. Their own witness. This court has heard proof since May. The jury heard proof for a week. Thousands of pieces of evidence have been admitted before Your Honor, before Judge McGinley. Often when we wrap up jury cases, we say to the jury as prosecutors, particularly cases like this, it's hard to give it to you. It's hard to turn this case over to you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. We know you've been listening. We know you've been paying attention. We chose you. We know you're going to follow the law, but it's still hard to hand that case over. Your Honor is the jury here. And the state of Tennessee has the utmost confidence that Your Honor is going to do the right thing, that Your Honor is going to follow the law that says that they have to prove beyond clear and convincing evidence, or with clear and convincing evidence, that Jennifer Thompson and Jim Simmons and Jerry Gonzalez performed below reasonable standards, not magician standards, not wizard standards, not could you maybe bribe a juror and get them to hang this thing up, but did they perform at reasonable objective standards in the moment? Not looking back all these years later with hindsight, and I'd have done it differently.
At the heart of the proceedings is a question of professional performance. Could the attorneys and investigators involved have acted differently? And more importantly, did they meet the standard required at the time? If they did, the case moves forward, and the court can confidently uphold its decisions. If not, it must be shown that any different actions would have changed the outcome when the jury returned to the courtroom.
If they'd heard everything that Your Honor has heard today, plus everything that they heard during the course of the week of that trial, that they would have come in here and said, you know what? I don't know. Or just one of them. All it takes is one to say, state didn't meet their burden. I can't sign my name on that. Would any of this have made a difference? State submits that the only difference what has transpired in this courtroom since May and outside of this courtroom in an attempt to manipulate these findings, in an attempt to manipulate and threaten witnesses, that the only thing that has changed standing here today, December 29th, 2025, is we know even more certainly how guilty he is. When we started these proceedings in May, the state pointed out that he, the defendant, sits before you, a convicted murderer in the state of Tennessee. And it's louder today than it was when we started in May. Because what the petitioner is asking the court to do is to look at the proof through a straw. Please don't read all of Mike Frizzell's report. Let me just scream and carry on about how the state hid evidence. If it wasn't so tragic to sit here with the Bobos in 2025 and watch them go through this, it's comical. To carry to its ultimate conclusion what the petitioner is asking the court to believe. Please don't look at all of Mr. Frizzell's report. Just focus on the fact that he put that fourth ping on a later page. At no time did Mike Frizzell today or ever in front of that jury say, just look at this little piece of what I found. Look at all of it. Everyone who testified in this courtroom before Your Honor and who testified before that jury, with the exception of a few that I will talk about, everybody, from law enforcement, look at all of it. Got it all. Here it is. I would hazard to guess that never in the state of Tennessee, perhaps in any state, I don't know, but in the state of Tennessee, never has a trial been conducted where the defense team had everything the state had. Everything. So this same petitioner who wants the court to believe that we're over here manipulating witnesses and telling people what to say and hiding stuff in our bags, I don't know, they had it all. They had it all. And we were at their mercy to receive the information. We were at their mercy to receive the information that Jennifer Thompson decided to trickle in bit by bit. To stand before this court and accuse in the way that petitioner has done is offensive to not only the men and women that have worked this case, but everybody that's out there right now. Because to sign this imaginary order that the petitioner is asking the court to sign, you would by doing so say, it's okay to come into court and make up stuff. It's okay to come into court and have selective amnesia about things. This same defense attorney who put in 3,000 hours on this case shut down her whole practice. And we only know what we know from the time she was appointed. She was hired by the family for a year prior to that. So we'll never know the grand total of hours that she put into this case. It was an obsession.
Jennifer Thompson dedicated countless hours to this case, meticulously preparing every detail. She ensured he was presented professionally, even dressing him in her husband's suits and attending to small personal touches. Their interactions were frequent and detailed, reflecting constant communication and coordination. Despite the extensive effort and time she invested, Thompson maintained her belief in his innocence, a conviction evident in the way she testified in court.
It is absolutely unbelievable, not plausible, not credible. I don't really remember what he told me about where he was that morning. That was her answer to my question. Well, you had conversations with him. Yes, of course. You met with him many times. Of course. You talked to all these people. Yes, of course. Okay. all dying to know. Because I can tell the court this as well on behalf of the state of Tennessee and on behalf of every law enforcement agent across this beautiful state, that if an innocent person is sitting in prison, we want to get into action as quickly as we can. Please, by all means, show us, tell us, point it out. He can't. He can't. He hasn't. And he never will. Perhaps the truth, if he's been paying attention, is a little bit clearer to him now than it was during the trial. The proof that this court heard, the proof that the jury heard, was that this defendant was with Jason Autry the morning of April 13th, 2011. No one from the state of Tennessee has ever presented a theory in which this defendant is the one who grabbed Holly Bobo from her carport. I would submit that that's never been a theory that's been argued, articulated. He was calling shots. You see, none of this was supposed to go down the way it did. We'll never know, for whatever reason, what motivated them that early morning to grab Holly Bobo. We'll never know. It'd be great if there was a turn of conscience like Jason Autry and Dylan Adams had, of just giving us a little bit, but you got to go to hell to catch a devil. And that's where we've been for a long, long time. Holly Bobo was not supposed to fight as hard as she did. Holly Bobo wasn't supposed to fight for her life. Dylan Adams was never supposed to talk. The proof, it was heart-wrenching to watch. And if, again, the petitioner's petition is that Jennifer Thompson should have put Dylan Adams on the stand for the jury to hear, perhaps the only thing that would have come from that lame move was that the jury would have been out and been back with their verdict a lot faster. Jennifer Thompson managed to keep that jury out for 2 days. If the jury had seen the manipulation and the fear of Dylan Adams, that's what this is all about. Of course, Dylan Adams is going to do what I tell him to do. Get rid of the phone, get rid of her stuff. Jason and I are going to go get rid of her body. You all get rid of this junk, and we'll meet up here later. And we know all this from the cell phone records. We know all this from the towers. The court has the proof, and the state has great confidence that the court can see through the smoke and mirrors, the emperor is wearing no clothes case that the petitioner has put on. The only thing that would have happened had Dylan Adams testified was a faster verdict. The only thing that would have happened had the defendant testified in his own behalf was a faster verdict. She kept that jury out for 2 days, and she kept him off death row. One of the most heinous, complex, violent, indefensible cases in this state's history. Absolutely no motive other than bragging rights. That's it. If I pull this off, stories I'll get to tell. Holly wasn't supposed to fight that hard. And gosh, she wasn't supposed to be alive at the river.
The court will remember that they drove to a river, a location the petitioner knew well and later testified about. Even by 2025, it appears he had not disclosed to his lawyer that he had been there before, despite obvious signs like graffiti and his repeated visits for fishing. It was at this location that they brought her, intending to conceal the crime. How did prior knowledge of the area influence the events that unfolded that day?
Because that's going to float, or not float rather, that's going to sink. And then we're out of here. We're out of here. We'll drive into town. I got to get Jason back to the church at Yellow Springs because Jason Autry's got to make sure that his girlfriend sees him at lunchtime or she's going to be hopping mad. I got to drop Jason off at the Yellow Springs church. I'm going to pick up Shane and Dylan because those two knuckleheads I got to keep an eye on. They ain't the brightest, and I don't want them talking. And we got to all be in this together. All for one, one for all. And we'll get into town, and we'll be seen. This will be great. And think of the bragging I'll have. Holly Bobo. The big prize. So they get down to the river, and she's still alive. This is not going as planned. Thank goodness. We've always got a gun. A bullet to the back of the head. If the court wants to disregard Mitchell Hayes' testimony, of course the court has that purview and power. Just like the jury had the purview and the power and the responsibility, and they took the oath to judge every witness's credibility to testify. And let's not lose sight of the fact that Jennifer Thompson put on quite a defense. We've all participated in criminal prosecutions where there's nothing done on the other side. An objection here or there, cross-examination here or there. That's it. Jennifer Thompson is a fighter. She was dogged and relentless and focused on one thing and one thing only. Walk him out of the courtroom. She's still proud of her work on this case. It's one of 3 featured cases on her website. If she was so distraught about her performance and her participation in the denial of his constitutional rights, why didn't she report herself? Why didn't Jim Simmons report her? Why didn't Jerry Gonzalez report her? From the river, they go back 100 miles an hour with some of what's come out of his mouth in terms of the distance they're traveling. They've got a dead body in the back of the truck. The body was supposed to be in the Tennessee River, but we couldn't do that because she was still alive. We had to shoot her, and we heard a boat.
The state introduced one of the most credible witnesses to testify in this courtroom, a boat driver whose account adds crucial detail to the investigation. The testimony he provided offered a first-hand perspective on the events under review.
We do not know, sitting here today, where the defendant was from 7:50 in the morning until they land in Parsons and his phone starts pinging around 11:12, 11:15. Except we do know a little bit about what he was up to. The problem is he can't be honest about it, because to be honest about it would be to admit once and for all, as Jason and Dylan have done, his role in this. But he is praying and hoping against everything he has left, against the power of the podcast and some veiled, I don't know, threat to the court about ignoring the facts and ignoring the law, that the truth will be buried in the same way he was instructing Mr. Bates' agent, Ms. Spirko, to bury something on a piece of property. Here's where you go. Here's what you do. Don't take a phone. They might track you. He can't own up to what he's done because it's too horrible. And this game is too far gone. But we know from all of the cell phone evidence, from Jonathan Reeves, who Mike Frizzell said it today, he said it during trial, I agree with him. Jonathan Reeves and I see eye to eye on this thing. The only one that Mike Frizzell takes issue with is Johnny Walker, because he said there's no empirical data to support the limb that Johnny Walker got out on. And I would remind the court that petitioner's own witness called Johnny Walker incompetent. Jerry Gonzalez smirked at the skill set and the level of incompetence of Johnny Walker when he was on the stand. The same Johnny Walker that when, in his mind, he manages to crack this case, he marches into that jail and gets Terry Britt to confess to kidnapping and murdering Holly Bobo. What does he do with it? He sends an email to himself and closes his computer down and goes home for the weekend. Even he knew it was worthless. Even he knew he was being played. This same petitioner who's asking the court to free a convicted, guilty murderer wants the court to order the charges against an innocent man. Much of the petitioner's early documents and position in this case is that we got the wrong person. Terry Britt is who did this crime. Terry Britt killed Holly Bobo. There is zero proof of that. Out of Terry Dykes' own mouth, the only proof he had was that Terry Britt is a registered sex offender. We'll all agree to that. He's got a revoked license and he lives near the area. Is that really the society that we want to live in? Is that really the criminal justice system that we want to proudly be a part of? To ignore the mountain of evidence against the convicted murderer and lock up the innocent guy. Because this just didn't turn out the way it was supposed to. Holly wasn't supposed to fight so hard. Jason Autry was not supposed to testify. Dylan Adams was not supposed to talk. And just one person on that juror, needed to not be convinced by the highest standard in jurisprudence, beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty.
It's important to focus on the correct timeline, as some have tried to examine only select details rather than the full picture. According to Terry Dykes, the critical period is from 8 to 10:30 in the morning. The time between 11:15 and 12:15 holds no relevance to the key events. This has been confirmed by multiple witnesses, and the state emphasizes it clearly.
Where this defendant, where Shane Austin, where that alleged Silverado, where Dylan Adams, couldn't care less where they were, at 11:15 in the morning on April 13th, 2011. What the state does care about is where they were from 8 to 10:30. And what we know about the phone information, from 9:12 in the morning to 9:50 in the morning, 9:12 in the morning to 9:50 in the morning, Zach Adams is inactive on his phone. There's no activity going on his phone. 8:55 to 9:42, Jason Autry's phone is inactive. They'd been talking before together. Their phones had been active before as they're making the plan. Hey, this has all gone amok down here. I need your help. We got Holly Bobo, and this is going to be fun. But during that vital time period, out of every law enforcement officer that took this stand, regardless of who called them to the stand, that's our key point. Total inactivity. 9:50 to 12:18 p.m., 9:50 in the morning, on the tower, closest to the river, Birdsong, back toward the truck stop tower, and on into Parsons, this defendant is wearing those keys out. There are 25 communication activities between 9:50 in the morning and 10:30 in the morning from this defendant's phone. He is frantic, absolutely frantic, because she wasn't supposed to be alive at the river. The state wishes, for purposes of this presentation, but to be quite honest, Your Honor, more importantly for the Bobo family, the state wishes we could tell you when they dumped Holly Bobo's body. We know where it was found. Again, through the straw that the petitioner is holding and asking the court to look at the evidence through, there was a .380 casing, not bullet, despite their repeated attempts to use that word bullet, casing, found near her body. Well, guess what? There were also about 100 other items found near her body, all of which were collected. Laura Hodge with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation took the stand and testified at trial, and there were 82 items put into evidence alone while she was on the stand. That's how much stuff there was out in the area where Holly Bobo spent her last moments on earth. Lots of other ammunition was found out there and a myriad of other things. It doesn't matter. We still don't know when the body was put there. It's pretty clear from the cell phone testimony and from what Your Honor has seen in the beaten down testimony of Dylan Adams. And again, it was hard to watch as a human being. It was hard to watch him on the stand. I think we all probably caught ourselves having to remember the role that he played in this rape, kidnapping, and murder of an innocent young girl. But if you didn't believe before he took the stand that he had spent his whole life being physically, emotionally, and psychologically abused and beaten by the petitioner, it was pretty clear. The same petitioner that shot his mother, the same mother who the court heard on the jail calls, threatening him, yelling at him, to the point that he cried in the jail calls, and he cried here. 14 years later.
During the critical period from 9:50 to 10:30 in the morning, the petitioner's frantic behavior is evident through his phone activity. He contacted multiple people, including Rebecca Herp, Dick Adams, and others, as he attempted to manage a dire situation. With a truck containing a victim in the back, he was trying to figure out where he could safely take it. Calls to family, like his grandfather, were part of his effort to coordinate and plan his next moves.
will Rebecca Earp lie for me and be my alibi? No, she wasn't going to do that. And the jury heard all of the attempts of an alibi that this petitioner made, both in the days and weeks and months after Holly Bobo's murder. And I will not belabor them, but they were all blown to bits. Jason Autry, first time he was contacted by law enforcement, came up with some story, but I was working, gave them the name of the guy he was working for, exactly where it was. Law enforcement, I know, ran it to the ground, as they do, as they are emboldened and empowered and expected to do. Ran it to the ground, and that man said, I haven't seen Jason Autry since I don't know when. Their alibis were falling apart, but the lead officer was ignoring it because he was looking through a straw. The same straw that the petitioner is asking the court to use. He's wearing that phone out, trying to figure out where he's going to go and get rid of this body, get rid of the white truck, the same white truck that jurors heard witnesses testify had been driving down the Bobo's street in the days leading up to Holly's abduction. White truck, I got to get rid of it. The black truck was probably the one used to drive around and get rid of the evidence. We'll never know. We'll never know the order of things, and we will never, ever, ever, ever know unless he has a moment of weakness when Holly Bobo and her phone were separated. No one took this stand with any credible proof to say, I saw it. And that's all we have, is speculation and theory. But every expert that is truly an expert, that truly has credible experience in this line of work, said there's no way to tell. There's no way to tell from this data when she was separated from that phone. He's frantically trying to figure out where everybody is so he can get his story straight. And in that same day, or in the days that follow, well, let me back up. I'm sorry. Later that night, this same frantic petitioner is trying to steal cars and guns from his grandfather. And the court heard those 911 tapes. They're on a first-name basis with the Adams household. The same Dick Adams who, when asked if Zach had anything to do with the murder and rape and abduction of Holly Bobo, said, if he did, he's probably good for it. Imagine that being your grandfather's response if you were accused of one of the most heinous crimes to have occurred in West Tennessee in modern time. Yeah, it does not shock me that Zach might have had something to do with this. Because that very night, Dick Adams came face to face with the frantic murderer. And nobody knows better than family what he's capable of. He's out of control, trying to get out of town because he's worried that it was sloppy. It did not go the way it was supposed to go. The court heard endless testimony, as did the jury, of all of the bragging. And the only really reasonable question to ask there is, why would you say those things if they weren't true?
The question remains, what was the motive behind these actions? There is no credible evidence to support the claims or misinterpretations of his statements. Some might expect a witness to confirm the exact words, but those involved were scattered across different locations throughout the state, each encountering him at separate times. How can investigators reliably interpret statements when witnesses are so widely dispersed?
No body, no gun. before the body and her skull with the bullet to the back was ever found. The bizarre, frantic behavior of washing the mattress and the officers that testified to that, those are not the scratches of a meth addict. And if they were, why lie about it? If they were, why lie about it? Because he can't face the truth. It's too ugly. The first time anything about a bank is mentioned is in September of 2014. This defendant and his meth monkey team, the A-team, whatever they like to call themselves, had been talked to who knows how many times by law enforcement as they combed this area, looking for Holly, looking for anything, anybody who knew something, saw something. Never did any of them mention, until it was Shane Austin's parents in September of 2014 that said, I don't know, maybe there was a bank transaction? Okay, thanks. Your Honor's seen the still. Your Honor's seen the video. More importantly, the court has heard from everyone who has taken the stand, with the exception of the convicted murderer and his beaten down brother, Dylan Adams, that it's not worth the paper it's printed on. It shows nothing. The emperor is wearing no clothes. The murderer has no defense. Even Jennifer Thompson, who we'll never know why, what motivated her to take the stand and answer the questions in the way she did. Even she looked at it and said, I don't know what this is. No, I can't see anybody in there. Of all of the people on the planet who would have loved to have proven us all wrong, to have gotten one up on Judge Nichols, I mean, the court's heard ad nauseum about their lack of a friendship. Who would love anything more than to be able to say, you all are so dumb, here it is right here. But even she couldn't do it. The only two that see anything in there are the one that's doing life and the one that was told what to say. Every other witness, whether petitioner called them or whether we called them, I don't know what that is. It's got no value. But even for the sake of Your Honor's responsibility and the incredible job in front of this court, let's just say, for the sake of this argument, that it is clear as day that you can see the A-team in the front of that truck pulled in backward at the bank at 11:12 in the morning. Who cares? Holly's already dead. If that video had been taken between, let me make sure I get the times right from Agent Dykas, between 8 and 10:30, and you could see anything, yeah, that's a pretty good alibi. But the time is irrelevant. The state couldn't care less nor does the law care where this convicted murderer was after he'd already killed Holly Bobo. And all that the court heard in terms of alibi from Dylan Adams and this defendant was where they were after they killed her. Don't look too closely at what the proof shows as to where we were while she was being kidnapped, raped, and shot in the back of the head at the Tennessee River. Don't look too closely.
Jennifer Thompson brought a unique skill set to the case. Before attending law school, she worked as a computer programmer, and the evidence clearly demonstrates her technical expertise. This knowledge allowed her to handle the case with precision and confidence, understanding the details and implications of the materials she reviewed.
She was an experienced attorney at the time the family hired her. She served then, she serves today on the CJA panel. Every accolade that you can have thrown at you as an attorney has been thrown at her. This one just didn't turn out the way she wanted. Whether she saw it or not, it doesn't matter. Because she had a strategy. And she had the best defense that has ever been handed to a defendant in the history of the state. And his name was Terry Britt. He looks and walks and talks like and is a registered sex offender. And it only takes one to not listen to all of the evidence and all of the facts and all of the law. That was her strategy. Imagine if this were all reversed and she had put the defendant on the stand and he had done a bang-up job at trial just like he did before the court with his selective amnesia. Oh, I don't remember where I was. Oh, I don't know where I was. No, I didn't say that. That was just a joke. Imagine if she put him on the stand and he had testified and that jury went back and convicted him. Then the accusations from this side would be, you should have blamed Terry Britt. You've got this walking poster child. Every defendant accused going forward is going to point at him. Why didn't you put on Terry Britt? Why would you ever put on proof putting these guys together? That's why the video is useless. Even if it showed anything, even if the time helped, why would she want to put them together? Her defense was to distance him from the others, the A-team, and to pin this on Terry Britt. But in addition, she didn't just sit back on her laurels with that as her sole objective. She cross-examined the fire out of just about everybody that took the stand. Can we sit here in 2025 with hindsight and say, oh, but you should have asked it this way? Sure, we can do that all day long. Thankfully, that's not what the law requires. The mandates of the law are for the court to look at the totality of the case at the time. And at the time and in the moment, and given what Jennifer Thompson and her team of 24 people that were working day in and day out around the clock while this case was in trial, their strategy was golden, easy, succinct, easy to understand. Very rarely does a defense attorney have a name to put on the some other dude did it defense. This jury got to meet him and size him up and listen to her cross-examination and take it all into account and weigh it all.
The state maintains strong confidence not only in the work of those involved, but also in the integrity of the legal system itself. This faith reflects a belief that the processes and procedures in place ensure justice is properly served.
A system that provided this convicted murderer with every piece of evidence that the state gathered to prove his guilt. A system that allowed his team of lawyers and experts and jury consultants and forensic experts, and I mean the list is as long as this aisle. A system that never said, no, that's too much money. We're not going to pay for it. Everything that Jennifer Thompson requested was granted. A system that selects from the community men and women, not lawyers to second judge and second guess. Men and women of a community to listen to the law, to listen to the facts, and to never, ever, ever leave their common sense behind. A system that instructs that jury of their incredible responsibility, that you must, every one of you, all 12 of you, find beyond a reasonable doubt that Zach Adams raped, kidnapped, and murdered Holly Bobo. A system that made everything available to him. Ms. Thompson was hired by his family and then convinced the court to appoint her. She kept him off death row. And a system that allows Your Honor to look at everything, what the jury heard, with the added benefit of what the court has heard now. And the absolute, unbelievable testimony that she just doesn't recall what he said, or that all of those communications with her client, every note she took, is missing.
The claims regarding the focus group were not plausible. When questioned, she had no recollection of it, leaving the court to rely on the evidence presented. Earlier, a bar graph from Forrest Richardson illustrated the 40 hours she dedicated to the focus group, highlighting the extensive effort involved. How does such meticulous preparation impact the overall understanding of the case?
Dogged, relentless, obsessed. Zach Adams was afforded one of the greatest defenses and defense presentations and defense teamwork of any accused criminal in this state, to the tune of $275,000 for Ms. Thompson alone, just during the time that she was appointed. The standard that the law requires is light years beneath what she gave him. And even her dogged, relentless, obsessed attention to detail, quest to win, desire to beat Jennifer Nichols, none of it mattered. Because in the great state of Tennessee, in these courtrooms, the law is the boss. the law that that jury followed and proudly walked back in here and returned their verdict to Judge McGinley, and the same law that Your Honor will follow. Same law regarding credibility of witnesses, reasonableness, prejudice. Would any of it have made a difference? The state submits the only difference is that verdict would have been a lot faster.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Zach Adams received one of the most thorough defenses in the state, with Jennifer Thompson and her team dedicating countless hours and resources. Their effort exceeded legal standards, showing remarkable precision and commitment. In the end, the law guided the jury, and the verdict reflected Tennessee's legal process. While the defense may have influenced the trial's pace, it did not change the outcome. This case highlights the importance of diligent defense and the rule of law in achieving justice. If you found this case breakdown informative, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more courtroom stories and legal analysis.